Look to the sky, young man, for there you'll find your aspirations. It gives life, signals change, and is a window to things we'll never understand. But don't forget to look down, or you might lose your step. I've always been fascinated by space and all the things most high, most like any man. It really puts into perspective just how small everything here is. But if your head's up there in the clouds, don't forget where we live, which is the ground. I mean, what do you call somebody who's well put together? Grounded. Not like a little kid who's in trouble for something, but just like level-headed, you know? They've got all their ducks in a row. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. The serenity prayer, if you're religious. And if you're not, there's a much more famously secular school of thought called stoicism. It focuses primarily on things that you can control, like your attitude and your actions, but not the outcome. Like, that's out of our control, and that's kind of like their whole thing. I'm not going to generalize here because I don't know you. Maybe you're not an idiot like me, but I'm going to tell you about my experience, and then you can see if you identify. Every time I unplug, I get reminded of what all this is. I mean, it's simple advice. The best advice is always simple. It's like, eat well, sleep 8 hours a day, be good. Thank you, Captain Obvious, right? Like, you wish it was that easy, but sometimes it is. I walk around my neighborhood. I do circles around here. My neighbors probably think I'm nuts, but it helps clear my head, and it just gives me an opportunity to really focus on what's right in front of me. Look down. I see flowers, and I see decor people have hung up, and I see paint chipping off of a porch that sat there for 30 years. So yeah, and I see those on the walk, and it just kind of grounds me. It reminds me of all these things that I ought to be aware of. And we ought to be aware of this stuff all the time. We know this, but it's kind of like saying, I love you, or hearing that, you know. We're insecure, squishy little frickin' pieces of crap, and we need to hear it over and over again. I mean, it's a conditional emotion, so sometimes reining it in and seeing reality for what it is, it's good to have a reminder. My mom has always liked going on walks and finding creatures. Reptiles mostly, like snakes and turtles, and she loves turtles, and it's crazy because she finds them everywhere she goes. I've always admired that, and it's just impressive. I'm like, I don't know how you find these things. Like, am I oblivious? Am I stupid? How do I miss this? But I think the big difference is that she's looking. And you can often find what you're looking for. You gotta aim. I read this book once in public, so everybody knew that I was really smart. But I read this book, and it had a passage about Ben Franklin. And I found out when I was researching before this video, I guess this has been adopted by Alcoholics Anonymous. It's good, good lesson. But young Benny was going to visit a reverend, and he was entering the home, and apparently the entryway was too low. It was just too short. And the reverend looks at him and he says, "Stoop!" And he didn't know what he was talking about, so he's like, what? And then, bah! He smacks his head off the door frame. It's like, ooh, right in the kisser. You got a stinger. And that's when it dawned on him what he was talking about. And the reverend comes up, and he looks at him as he's clutching his head. And I'll end with this. He says, stoop as you go through this world, and you'll miss many hard thumps. Don't forget to look down.